is that the same way that by a person there's a certain sensitivity, there's a certain intuition, there's a certain delicateness, and Memele he can sometimes, in intuition, sense something that's higher than his understanding. Das Elyon. Das Elyon, the heavenly perspective. When it comes to a behemoth never looks up to the heaven, it's always to the ground. And it doesn't have the intuition and the delicateness, sensitivity with all the inyanim that a person has. In the same sense, it is also in regards to the difference of the souls. Neshamas Datzilus have a deeper intuition and an insight and a connection and a link with higher. Mashenkin the Neshamas, on the other hand, the Neshamas of Bia, Bri, Yitzir, Asiyah, they push it since they landed. They went in there and they became part of world. Al derech, like the Gemara says on Shabbos, there was a certain Tana, Rabbi Elazar ben Aruch, a certain sage. He came to a place, and it was a place where they had a lot of worldly pleasures, and we don't need much to look around in the world today where people go for pleasure. And he wanted to say the Pasuk, HaChedesh Hazeh Lochem, and instead he said, HaCheresh Hayolibam. He wanted to say, HaChedesh Hazeh Lochem. A Pasuk speaks about the Jewish calendar, and this was the first commandment given in Egypt, the commandment the Jewish nation received as a nation in Egypt. And he couldn't say it. Instead he said, HaCheresh Hayolibam, which means their heart was silent. What does it mean? That his heart became contaminated. His heart became timtum alev and timtum ameach. It was poshet like filled and stuffed. And b'meila, he wasn't a vessel to receive a spiritual light. So instead of HaChedesh Hazeh Lochem, he said HaCheresh Hayolibam. We find it in different times. We find it also here. Here we're looking in spelling. In the word, it seems like it's similar. When you look at the words, you see them similar. Here it's a reish, here it's a dalet, and here it's a reish. Here is a chof, lochem, and here is a beis, nishkosher. But Lapil Mamish is completely a different content. The Rebbe Marash speaks about it in the Maimon in Tafresh Chavav, I think the beginning of the Nesios, that this showed the great descent that he experienced. So Mela, the Rebbe continues. He explains over there in the Rebbe Rashab explains that this is the reason that this is the reason that the person receives chayes from the macholim. He receives life. He's being sustained by eating foods of the daimim, the silent world, and the plant world, and the animal world. That when he accomplishes in himself that he shouldn't be drawn after the physical pleasures in the food. But the kavon, his intention is that it should be l'shem shamayim. That with the keach ha'achila he should learn and daven. That in order that he should be able to accomplish in himself, that he should in reality, in a sincere way, be for the sake of heaven's sake, for the heaven's sake, tzarech liyah, that says that's why he's eating. In order he should be able to learn and study and daven and pray. Tzarech liyah tchila avei tefillah bizbeininus kozusha mavenes gam lenefesh habamis. So he needs to have before that, as an introduction to that, an inyan of davening, prayer with meditation, that also his animal soul should be able to understand it. In other words, he brings it down in a way that even the animal soul should feel this is something good and I should be attracted to it. Godliness.
How does he do that?
He gives him to understand him that this is the source of life and this is the source of the world. And Memela, if you want something, stay connected. This is one of the biurim that Chassidus brings, Benegir, to Avas Hashem. The Alter Rebbe brings in chapter 43 in Tanya. Kihu Moker Chayenu is the source of our life. Or Kihu Avinu, he's our father. And maybe the person doesn't want to separate from the father. Logical concepts that the animal soul could start understanding. It takes drilling. But eventually the animal soul starts realizing, you know what? It might be a good idea for me. I might benefit from it. It's my existence. Shegam nefesh abamis tovim v'tasik shetzarech lirtzes be'elikus v'lei b'chumri sa'ilam. That even the animal soul should also understand that there's a need to want godliness and not physical, mundane matters in the world. Shal yedei means actually lower than physical matters in the world. Things that a person doesn't need, but he actually just dirties himself with it. It's like things that are beyond what he really needs for his existence. It's called chumrius fagrept, thick, in a spiritual sense. Through this, when he has in mind that he will use it for heaven's sake, he refines the food, and he takes out the evil, and he elevates the good, which is the spark, the holy spark, the godly spark, which is in the food. Through this refinement, so that he brings down the taste for an addition and increase in the light, the b'chinas hamakif. That b'shas, there's the union of iskafia sitra achere. That the union of iskafia, that the negative elements, impure elements are being subdued. So then we bring down a revelation from above that fills up all the world. How is that accomplished? B'shas, a person touches dafke the cheshach, the darkness, so that's when he has an effect, because this is completely not within the structure of world, so then he reaches the highest heights.
Doesn't it say in Tanya that you should also consult yourself, your Yetzirah?
Right, this is also working, right, to subdue him and telling him in mevuzim, meshuketz, mesuav, to call him all these names that the Chachameinos, that our sages would refer to him.
So now you're trying to reason with
There's two things. By davening is the inyan that he's working with him, because he wants to bring him to V'ahavtas Hashem Elikecha, to love Hashem. So he's talking into him. Why do we say the blessings of how the angels praise Hashem? Because he comes from these angels. So we're telling him his Gesha. His Gesha is from the Shema, from the Ifanim. The Mela, he touches him. As a meyuches. So what's happening l'mayla? When you take a rope, you touch the first part, you shake the top part, the whole rope shakes. So we hope that this should also shake him up. Actually, there's also another example, but the Rebbe doesn't bring it in here. The Rebbe speaks about the inyan of the darkness. There is an example, I think the Rebbe might have mentioned it earlier, I'm just going to check a minute, because there is another example. That's an example that the Rebbe said in a Maimer. This Maimer, the 20th of Shvat, 1970. The Rebbe mentioned all the Rabbeim there. This was a Tzeischem L'Shalom, a goodbye for Chassidim going back to Israel when they came for the 20th anniversary Yud Shevat. There was a siyum of this Rebbe Mashiach Sefer Torah then, so it was a very special event. So the Rebbe says in the Maimah, interesting word, that b'shas a yid, what is the Maila Yerid Tzerach Aliyah? That the elevation of the neshama is dafka through the descent. The answer is because the person in this physical world has a direct connection to the Eibishter. He goes around feeling he is an independent person. He feels that it's mitziusi matzmusei, they made himself, and that there's nothing that comes before him. He's independent. He's walking around. It's not like a fish that's constantly gasping for water, for oxygen.
Nothing can happen to him.
Right, nothing can happen to him. B'meila he feels that it's mitziusi matzmusei, a real true yesh, with a metahidur, very enhanced. Like he is an entity for himself. He's the big I. So the Rebbe says, actually it is because actually the true I, the true big entity is the Eibishter. He says, but because when he reveals in himself, when he thinks who he is, so Saf Kosaf, he will reveal in himself that the real entity, the true entity is the Eibishter, is Hashem. So therefore the Rebbe says that Dafke, he is a vessel to reveal Hashem, because he is in a sense reflecting Hashem, but he thinks it's himself. When he is actually digging in himself, he will Saf Kosaf reveal in himself who the true entity is. So this is another biur why David is Dafke in this physical world. Because the Yesh HaNivra,